Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all today?
We're good. Excited to have you on. And I'm really interested to first figure out how it is you are navigating this June of recruiting as we're seeing unprecedented levels of, travel. And for the first time, rising seniors being able to go to official visits during the summer. How has that helped you guys get a better feel since the 16-month period of the dead period ending June 1?
I will say it's actually, even though it's been tiring, it's actually great to be back, seeing players compete and do things. Like you miss that up close personal relationship, actually getting to see them do things. So, for us, we've been on the road a bunch. I think we went to 6 different camps at other people's universities. We've had 3 of our own. We'll be 3 tomorrow on our own campus. So we've had 9 camps we've attended. Plus, this will be our our 3rd weekend of official visits. So we've probably had on campus after tomorrow, we'll have anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 student athletes that actually came on our campus. And we probably had a chance to evaluate anywhere between the same amount of number, about 2,000 plus over the last month of June. So it's been hectic, been tiring, but well worth it. And, when it's good to be back out there.
How do the kids look to you? Because a lot of them haven't played high school football, and this is their first opportunity to really get out there and do something.
You know what? I actually think they probably look better. And the reason why is even though they've not had a lot of opportunity maybe to compete or play, some of them obviously got to, depending on what state they're from. But they all have these personal trainers now, so they all got to really work on actual specific skills. And so you'll come in and this guy might not play much. Man, he knows how to do this drill, knows how to do that drill. So I've actually thought it's been a little better than maybe what you thought, just because of the beautiful thing of social media. Everybody knows what you need to do to be great, and they can go do it on their own. And they can hire somebody to help.
Goodness me. Now I'm excited to see what they look like come the fall, but I'm really excited to see what your program looks like come the fall. And I want to take it back just a little bit here, because we're getting to this place where we're talking about a 12-team expansion of the college football playoff, which, still has to work itself out. And they're going to actually bring this back in September as they continue to evaluate it. But it looks like we're headed in that direction come hell or high water. To that, I say, according to the policies that they laid out, went ahead and did this work myself, y'all would have been the 5-12 matchup against Notre Dame. How do you feel about that? I mean, just being able to go on the road to a place like South Bend and have an opportunity to play for a national title in an otherwise, I think, closed off system.
I mean, how awesome would that have been? I mean, you had the Mullets versus the Mormons. You have Mullets versus the Catholics in the same year. I mean, we're going through every religious denomination. And so, but that's what makes the NCAA basketball tournament special, is those matchups, those 5-12s, those 3-14s, et cetera. And you have that in college football. And there might be no shot in the world that a team like us or whatever can win a national championship, but you never know. And to have that opportunity to be in the dance, you never know what happens that time of the year. I think that's a special thing. And for going forward, if that's exactly what happens, I mean, that gives all of us, G5, so to speak. If we go out and handle our business and have a great year, we can get rewarded for it, where other times you never would. Even like last year, we had a great year. Cincinnati had a great year. Even BYU had a great year. And only one of us would have a chance to get to a really high quality New Year's Day bowl, right? And instead of all 3 of us having a chance. If this was the same year, all thrry of us are fighting the very last week to see who's getting ready to play for a national champ. Maybe 2 out of 3. That's a big deal. And I think because of the season we had, the season Cincinnati had, obviously there's been talk about expanding, but I think we maybe expedited that a little bit just because of everybody saw the type of quality football that you play in our conferences, and I think people want to see that nationally. I think that BYU, our game and BYU, I think that really opened a lot of eyes for a lot of people across this country.
Well, I want to talk about that game specifically because the way that we watched it, the way that we consumed it, and it was a hell of a football game as well, has done so much for the sport, as you mentioned. But how often does that game come up in just casual conversation as you're going about your daily activities?
All the time. I don't know how many people actually watched it, but you can triple it the number of people said they watched it. I mean, everybody just talks about, man, that game was this, that game was that. And I've shared with anybody that I've talked to about it, regardless if you were a fan of either team, if you just watch that game, you were like, man, what a great game. Obviously a great ending. and both teams competed and did it on a short time frame. And it was arguably one of the best college football games of the year, and just to experience that, to have game day here on top of it, there were so many positive things. But everybody that once they find out, hey, Coastal, that's the first word out of their mouth. Man, that BYU game was XYZ. And that's a pretty special deal.
And I want to see more of that. I'm a college football playoff expansion zealot. Got a t-shirt that says expand the playoff, you cowards, because I want to see teams like yours have an opportunity to chase a national championship. I think it's meaningful, and I wouldn't mind a 16-team playoff myself. But last year, y'all put up 37 a game. You won a conference title. You finished 14th in the final AP poll. Do you think perhaps, that was in the cards when you joined the Sun Belt in 2017?
Well, I tell you this, I'm sure our administration, their mindset was, hey, we want to play at a high level and go to bowl games, et cetera. I don't know if anybody would have dreamed, especially this early in our program and being an FBS. That was our 4th year in FBS. I don't know if anybody would have dreamed. If they did, they're lying to you. That we would have been Sun Belt champions that early, would have been on national television 10 times, and had college game day in their stadium. And then being high as number 9 in the country, and all over on the every Tuesday for about 8 weeks we were in, where they're talking about where the rankings were for the playoff system. Coastal Carolina was mentioned every week. Mm-hmm. And you can't put a price on how much that brought to us and our program and our community. But you know what? That's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of college football. That's what I love about coaching. When you get something done that nobody thinks would ever happen and you do it, it just makes it that much more meaningful and special. And I think that just shows you truthfully what type of young people in our program we have that didn't care about what outside people thought about them. They cared about what the people in the room did. And a good thing happened with that. And I know I'm realistic that a lot of that happened because of COVID, right? Because the Pac-12 wasn't playing. They played late. Big Ten wasn't playing till late. So when they needed to fill some TV spaces there early, Coastal was on TV all the time, and we took advantage of every opportunity. And it just kept building and building and building where it became, we were America's team there for a year. Hopefully it'll be longer. And so it was a special time, and hopefully we can continue to build off of what we did and continue to have some seasons like that, and hopefully have another magical one where we can be, playing for a national championship one day.
Well, all you can ask is have an opportunity to play and taking opportunities to play. And I bring that up, right? Because you pointed it out, but I'm not taking anything away from that. I mean, you played who you played, and they want to put you on TV. That's their prerogative. It's your job to go out there and win football games. And to that end, I know folks remember the BYU game. I understand it. But the one that really is your season for me, is I'm watching this because I'm a college football nut. I'll watch every game that's on TV if you let me. Y'all are down 38-35 on the road at Troy, okay? There's 1 minute, 20 seconds left. Troy goes and gets a score. Y'all start out the series 24-yard line. What are you thinking at that point?
Well, I tell you what, you're obviously thinking how, the doubt creeps in and going, we came this far and it looks like we're running out of gas. And then our quarterback, who threw a pick the previous drive and gave them field position to where they scored the go-ahead touchdown. Coach, don't worry about it. We got it. And we went down the field in 5 plays and scored just like that, like we were going on air almost. It was unbelievable. And there was not, even if there was a doubt in the mind of coaches, there was not a doubt in the mind of that team they were going to find a way to win. And I think that's what I remember about it the most. That was a great football game. And we probably didn't have a way to win that, but just the belief over there was never any doubt. And that's one that I do just remember vividly over there. Not one time there was a panic, not one time those players, coaches might be, uh-oh. Not one time did they ever think, all right, we're done. They just went out there and played. And that was a pretty awesome time as well.
We asked the kids to distinguish themselves. We asked them to turn themselves into stars, right? We asked them to be the person they claim to be. And this is an instance where they did that, where they did not shake their faith. They went out and they went and got W. But to that point, Grayson McCall and Javon Hiley showed me something I'd never seen from them before. I mean, between the two of those guys, I think he had 3 catches of those 5 plays come from them. And of course, the touchdown was McCall to Hiley. What do you see in particular in those 2 guys that people should know or that they don't know?
Well, I would say one thing about that relationship there, when Grayson was a freshman last year, right, a redshirt freshman. And so Javon was actually a season. He was a junior, but and played a little bit as a freshman, and played quite a bit as a sophomore. He was basically our oldest seasoned receiver. And Grayson really developed a trust with him early on. You know, when you're a young guy, you're looking for somebody out there. Hey, who can I count on when things aren't going well? And it was Javon for him. And they have a special connection. And the thing I would say with Javon is that Javon doesn't look like when he goes out there, he's going to run past you. Doesn't look like he's going to be this, don't be like that, but he just finds a way to make something happen. And what it did for Grayson, I think it helped Grayson's confidence grow from a guy that had confidence, but just had it from, hey, I'm good. But then when he went out there knowing, hey, I got Javon, when things go wrong, I can find. And those guys have a great connection as far as just that, you know, you study all the time, just those great connections. Montana to Rice, right? Young to Rice. And Mahomes to Hill right now, like in the NFL. There's just something where those guys, you know, they're looking for that. And they have that same one. And those guys are both guys that weren't highly recruited, that play with a big chip on their shoulder with something to prove. And they go out and they've done special things when other people said, hey, you're not capable of doing this. And they've sort of done that together. And I think that makes it even better for them.
One of the things I take from last season is not just that we got to watch y'all play football, but we got to see those kids grow up in certain situations, certain ways, but also with y'all at the top, that Sun Belt's pretty tough. Like that Troy game, people are writing it off, but Louisiana, I think you got a 2-point win over them, and you were going to play them in a conference championship game that I couldn't wait to see. You share the co, fine. But I go up and down that Sun Belt, and I got to ask you, you think it's the deepest conference in the country?
I would share this with you. You know, there's not a week that goes by where you can roll the ball out and you're going to win because of the name on your chest. It's not going to happen. There's good coaches, there's good players, and the Sun Belt's a football league, and the majority of the Sun Belt is invested heavily into football being good resource-wise. You know, obviously Louisiana's taken off on the West. I think you're going to see Arkansas State come back. Texas State's pouring some things into it. I think they're getting South Alabama built a brand new facility. Monroe got a new coach. And over here on the East side, you got these traditional powers, right? I mean, always been great for a long time. Georgia Southern was a great team for a long time. Obviously, Appalachian State. And then you got us and Georgia State that are sort of the up-and-comers. Georgia State beats a Tennessee, you know, 2 years ago, whenever it was. So it's a great league. I think our side of the division is as tough as there is in college football at our level. I believe that. I mean, our 5 teams are tough, and then you get them there. So there's not a downtime at all. And I arguably, you know, obviously I have to say this, but I'd put us up against the AAC. I know that's who we get compared to quite a bit. I'd put us from top to bottom up against them any day. I know they've got some really, really good teams there. But I think our conference is as tough as there is, and it's a challenge each week.
I would add to that this, Coach. Not only y'all win the Sun Belt, but the Sun Belt turned the Big 12 into a Sun Belt territory, if you will. I mean, y'all caked up Kansas Jayhawks, dipped them in some grease. Okay. Then we get Arkansas State taking it to Kansas State. And then we get Louisiana beating up on an Iowa State team that won the Fiesta Bowl against one of those Pac-12 teams that started late, but again, against one of those Pac-12 teams that started late. And then you add in the BYU's part of this. I don't really see how we can continue not to see either a Sun Belt champ or even an American champ get into the playoff in this 4-team field as it is, just based on what y'all have done in the cross conference. Am I reading this wrong?
Well, you know what? I think that's a hard sell. And our reason that's a hard sell, we're always, and I say we, you know, level wise, ACL, that we're always going to get knocked for lack of Power 5, you know, et cetera, which is a little bit of bull because again, we've challenged, we know how strong our schedules are and who we play. But I think I think it's almost impossible the way the current setup is. It's impossible for an AAC team. I mean, you look at UCF from 2000, was it 17, I think?
Yes, sir.
I mean, they is about as dominant as anybody, and they didn't even sniff it. I don't even know what they were ranked at the end of that year. Maybe not ranked, but in the playoff rankings, maybe 8th, 9th. And so I think it's almost impossible to happen. And that's why I think we're all so excited about this 12 team, and eventually it'll probably go to 16, as you mentioned. I think we're all so excited about that because now, hey, we don't have to be perfect, and then hope somebody thinks we passed the eye test, right? Because that's it. Like last year, the commissioner of the playoff system, well, we just think Cincinnati's better than Coastal. But even though our statistics and everything were better, they thought they were better based off the eye test, which that's their right. And that's what we're thankful for going forward. But no shot that any G5, so to speak, gets in the playoff the way it's currently set up, no matter what happens.
I am against people in suits and boardrooms telling me what they think are the best teams. I want the kids to decide that. And we got the ultimate college football playoff selection committee called a scoreboard. That's what it's there for. And that's the way I want to see it go. And I can go on about that, but I want to keep talking about your team because, Coach, y'all go 11-1, 8-0 in the conference. Another way of saying this is we all see you coming now. Like we know who you are. How are y'all carrying that going into what I expect to be a really interesting preseason camp for you?
Well, that is a challenge. I mean, last year, nobody thought much of anything, and we're circling teams, right? Hey, we're coming after you. Well, this year it's different. They're circling us, and we're not going to sneak up on anybody. And I think as a head coach, what you've got to do, and what you have to have your team do, is you got to keep that same mindset, that hungry attitude that we're still hunting, right? We've climbed the mountain, but we're not looking backwards. We're going to continue to climb to see if we can go to the next plateau. And I think what happens sometimes when you have success, it's natural or easy to just look back and look at the success and relax a little bit. And the thing that we've challenged our players on is that we're on a journey, and that journey didn't stop just because of what happened last year. That was just part of the journey getting there, and we've got to continue to push forward and climb and keep that edge, play with that edge, because if we don't win games at Coastal just because of talent. Now, we've got good talent, but it's not the best in the world by any means. And so we take our talent and we play for a purpose, and that's why we win football games. And so as a head coach, we've worked hard this offseason of making sure that why we win has been the forefront. And our senior leaders last year were tremendous. Most of those guys are back. The majority of them. I think we had 15 seniors or 14, whatever it may be, and we got all but 3 back. And so a lot of great leadership is back to keep our younger people with their eyes focused on what we have to do on a daily basis. So I feel good about that direction, but it's going to be different. You're playing from a different, lead. You're the lead horse, so to speak, now. Instead of coming up from the rear, you're in the front right now. And everybody's chasing that one. So it'll be interesting to see how our team responds to that. But I feel pretty good about the direction we've had so far.
I'm excited about it because, as you mentioned, you get all those seniors back, and we've seen a lot of kids take advantage of this year of eligibility. I think it's going to be the deepest season of college football that we've seen basically since scholarships were reduced in the 90s, because so many kids have been allowed and taken advantage of being able to come back. But I also wonder, as you're going on this camp tour, you and your all around the country, you and your coaches, how often are other coaches coming up to you going, hey, can you tell me a little bit about that 2-back spread y'all run? Because apparently it's all like among coaches, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a scheme guy, but they'll talk about it till they're blue in the face. And I thought it was interesting, just reading up on it, that it felt like you went over to Wofford to figure out what they were doing while you were at North Greenville. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yes, sir. So no, we have had quite a few people ask us about some of those things. When I was a head coach at Division II North Greenville, my first year was 2009, and we inherited a roster that had 17 scholarships in a 36 scholarship league. And so I figured out real quick, I'm going to have to try to do something different to try to, win some games. And Wofford was doing some things that I was interested in at that time frame, doing some triple stuff out of the gun. But they didn't throw it much. But I wanted to learn the run games. Went over there and was fortunate enough to visit with them. Coach Ayers was their head coach then, and let me sit down and just learn as much as I could from them. And then you took what you knew from the passing game and you tried to combine it, and it's obviously evolved over those years, but really the base principle of what we do from a run standpoint started back there in 2009 after that visit, and we've just evolved from it. Now, RPOs, going faster and all that stuff, you add some of those things in, obviously, but the base things and the base pass concepts and all really were from that 2009 visit. And we've just tried to work on it over year after year and update it and fix it and try to change it a little bit here and there. But that visit was obviously worthwhile because it's just now being on TV. This is the first time everybody sees it and says, oh, I'll actually like it. Everybody hates it. And then they see it and they, oh, I like this. So it's been interesting to see the different perspective of it. Everybody hated it. Now everybody wants to copy it. It's funny.
Winning cures everything, right? Everything looks good when you're winning. Like nobody liked the wishbone. And then Oklahoma started winning championships with it. And hey, I think we ought to run a little bit of that. I have this question for you, Coach. I give this to most of the coaches that are kind enough to join the show. How do you feel about name, image, and likeness showing up July 1 for most, I say most, for a lot of states and for a lot of programs? Does it scare you? Are you still figuring it out yourself? Are you enthusiastic about it? How do you feel?
Well, I'm excited for the players and their opportunities. That gives them a chance to use the platform they have and maybe take advantage of some of those things that people have obviously not have not had the opportunity to do in the past. So I look forward to for them. I think that's a big deal. There's some anxiousness from my side, I think coaches' sides, because we don't know exactly how it's going to work, how what's the monitoring, all the different things. And then also I think, if your culture is important to you, you worry about if there's certain things out there getting paid, certain people getting paid for this, paid for that, and then the other people aren't. Does that affect that locker room, right? Does that affect your team bonding and stuff? And maybe it won't. I don't know if anybody knows that answer, but there's so many, I think, still unknowns of exactly how to play out and work. That there's some anxiousness on the coaches' side, myself specifically, just what's this look like? Because coaches typically you have a plan and you hope you have an idea what things look like, and then you adjust to things, right? When there's something, you adjust to it. I think right now nobody knows exactly what it looks like, so you don't know what to anticipate and expect. But obviously going forward, it's going to be a big deal. Here in our state, it's July 1. Currently, it's July 1 of 2022. Now that can change with the NCAA ruling coming out. I don't know exactly. So, we're moving forward on the plan of having everything, in place by then. So our roster can take advantage of opportunities they may have. But I'd love to learn more about it, exactly how it's going to lay out, so we can all come up with a plan to maximize its benefits.
I had this thought as I was going to do some research for the show and try to ask you what I thought were interesting questions. And it felt to me, and everything that you have said, especially since going 11-1 and winning the conference championship, that you're very happy at Coastal Carolina. And to that end, what makes you happy as a head coach? Like, what are you actually looking for? What does Coastal provide you that makes you content?
Well, I think one, you want to be at a place that you enjoy living, you enjoy raising your family. Coaching's hard, and you want to be somewhere that you enjoy the place, you enjoy the people, and when you're not at the office, it's somewhere that you want to raise your family. And the Conway, Myrtle Beach area here in South Carolina is a beautiful, obviously right now, we're 15 minutes from the ocean. So there's a lot of great things with that. And so that's a benefit. But I think from a coaching standpoint, wherever you're at, no matter what they're paying you, all those things, I mean, that's obviously money's great, but it's more so, do they value what you're doing? Do they appreciate that? And the one thing that I believe here, with our leadership in place, they appreciate the value that we brought to the university and what we're trying to do. They support that. And when you feel like you're supported from your administration and your community, that's a big deal, because I think, there, other opportunities obviously that arise, there's always some type of skeleton in the closet, right? There's always something. And I think here, we just scratched the surface of what I think this program and university become. We're on the bottom floor really, and we're trying to continue to build this foundation. And I think what we showed this year, that there's a high ceiling here. If we continue to push the envelope and continue to do the things that we're capable of, that this could be a place that consistently is playing for the the Sun Belt Championship, and if you're playing for the Sun Belt Championship, then you're playing for an opportunity to play for the national championship once this new playoff system. And so I think there's something special about that, doing something where it's never been done. That part excites me, and it parts our staff. A lot of our staff's from the state of South Carolina, from the Southeast. So there's a natural, just a regional fit for us. And I really enjoy the young people that we work with here as well, and I think the hard part always happens, this is a big school comes in and they offer you so much money. That's obviously a hard challenge when you're talking about some life altering money, but at the end of the day, money doesn't make you, but give you joy. Your joy comes from your belief system and the foundation you have. And I really enjoy in the fit that we are here. Our staff is here. We enjoy what we're doing and what we're building.
Coach, I am enjoying the hell out of watching the program grow. I enjoyed last year, and I expect to enjoy wholeheartedly watching y'all win a bunch of games in 2021. I want to wish you and your family a happy 4th. And thank you so much for joining us here on the Number One Ranked Show.
I appreciate it anytime. You guys are awesome. And God bless y'all and have a great July 4th holiday.